Zoning Appeals. If you will stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Here.
Amber Brown.
Here.
Jerry Sartain.
Here.
Gary Farley.
Here.
Renee Curtis. Patrick Hill.
Here.
And Zane Cantrell.
Present. Have a quorum, so we will proceed with our meeting. The next item of business is to elect, I didn't know this was coming this quick, elect a chair and a vice chair. And I'll open this for nominations.
Mr. Chairman, we have a member that's on their way here. Could we move this to the end of the
We
agenda?
can if you wish to.
Thank you.
Is that what you wish? Okay, we'll put that to the end. You have the minutes of the November meeting that's before you. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes?
Move to be approved as written, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion that they be approved. I have a second. Have a second. Call the roll, please.
Mike Curtis.
Yes.
Amber Brown.
Yes.
Jerry Sartain.
Yes.
Gary Farley.
Yes.
Patrick Hill.
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. Is approved. First item of business is a request by Kenneth Powell, who is requesting a special exemption establishment of a storage facility, personal storage. Do you have anything on this? So.
Yes. Application 2024-1 involves the location at 11,853 Bunker Hill Road. It is a 6.18 acre parcel, and they are requesting special exception approval to allow the establishment of a non-commercial storage facility to be used for personal storage upon a property located in the RL Low Density Residential Zoning District. And this is the property here along Bunker Hill Road. It's not developed. I understand that there have been some clearing occurring on the property, but the applicant would like to place a 40 by 60 or 2,400 square foot metal barn on the property to use for personal storage, such as winter storage for the boat and RV that belongs to the applicant. The applicant supplied a letter from Randy Dickerson, who is a soil scientist, dated March 31st, 2023, indicating that the site cannot support the installation of a septic tank. And staff reviewed the request. It appears that it will be able to meet all of the setbacks of the RM zone. Its size would be allowed for that lot size for detached accessory structures. And he did supply us with a letter from the soil scientist. Now, should the board approve this request, it would be limited to only personal storage that belongs to the applicant. He could not use it for living quarters. No commercial activities can take place on site, and that he cannot use the structure to store items related to an off-site business. So those would be the conditions that we recommend and also are required by the zoning ordinance. So this is the site in question, and as you can see, the surrounding area. We did receive several phone calls requesting information on this item, and maybe some concerns were expressed, but no one had indicated that they were against the request. And that concludes our presentation.
Do you have any questions of the staff?
Yes, Danielle, does that, the things that are prohibited out there for something like this, does that include hosting parties and
Oh.
events and things of that nature?
No, they would not be able to use that. We have a whole nother section of the zoning ordinance. So if the structure was being used for, say, for instance, a wedding venue, they would have to go through an entirely different process.
I was just thinking about gatherings for
Parties.
RVs, hunting, not necessarily hunting, but like where everybody comes out there and rides and whatever, that creates a lot of noise. That would not be allowed as well?
I mean, he can go out there now and ride a four-wheeler or something, but the structure itself can only be used for personal storage, not human occupancy or anything like that.
Thank you.
I think it's a good question. In times past, we have approved these storage bins, supposedly, and then what they have ended up doing was using it for a party, and that's not the purpose of this.
Let me ask this question. With that being said, technically, it's zone agriculture, correct?
It's zone residential low
Residential,
density.
okay. So technically, could he not, I mean, I'm not saying he's gonna do this, but technically, he could bring 10 or 12 of his friends over and get on four-wheelers right now.
Right. There doesn't have to be a structure there for them to be able to do that.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. You said there was a soils test and it will not support a septic tank?
Right.
Is that
the
what you
soils-
said?
yeah,
Okay.
the
I just wanted to
soil-
make sure that was the conclusion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Come to the podium. You have anything else you want to add to this?
The 6 acres came up for sale, and it was heavily wooded. You couldn't see anything. I took a chance on the lot just because they couldn't do a perk test at the time because it was so heavily wooded and everything. And I took a chance on the lot, cleared it up, did the soil test, come find out that it does not perk. So I've got 6 acres right there. My wife loves to be in a neighborhood, and in that neighborhood I have no storage for extra truck or any kind of toys and stuff like that. So I figured, why not just utilize the space for the 6 acres for a storage barn? If you're worried about parties, I'm too old to party. So don't ride four-wheelers because I don't have any luck with them. So that's my main purpose of it, is just build a storage barn. It's not going to be an in and out type deal. It's just a place to go grab something, come back. It's 20 minutes from my personal home, so it's not too far. So if something happens, I can be right there. So I plan on doing the structure up nice and having a nice presence with the wood and everything. It's pretty cool.
Any questions? Mike?
Was this property part of the area that was damaged in the April 1st tornado of last year?
Not to my knowledge. All the trees are still standing.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this request. If you'll come around.
Property, the clear properties, the border him and the next one, lived there for 30-something years. I have 2 really good friends that were formerly employed by this man, builds houses, remodel work, this and that. Said he's bought property and dumped building trash there. Well, so far, the last 16 months, he has probably spent 60, 70 hours clearing off the property, but the only thing he's done is dumped about 15 or 20 loads of debris from job sites. He's got them pushed up into 3 or 4 separate piles right now where you can't really tell what they are. And I just don't want it to get junked up no more than it is. So He lives, I don't know where he lives now. He used to live 30 minutes from there, so I can't see as to where he would want to store hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of stuff in a building that far from home. I don't know for sure.
I've got a question. Did you just say that he's brought in product where he's building homes and dumped it on location?
There's big rocks, concrete blocks, bricks, there's boards, there's green bands from wrapping material. They dumped, I don't know how many loads of stumps and stuff from trimming trees off of another lot. Just, yes, sir.
Other
I have some
questions?
photos if you want to see them
Thank you.
from the road.
Anyone else?
Sir, can you please state your name and address for the record?
I'm Aaron Forrest, 11563 Bunker Hill Road, Rockville, Tennessee. Yep.
Anyone else? Public hearing, anyone else? You want to bring him back and ask about this?
Can you elaborate on what was just said?
And what I have done is I've had concrete and block delivered to fill in some of the low spots and build up in a few low areas. And when I come in and cut for the barn, I can use that as fill material. A couple loads of trees that I did drop are from my other property from when the trees fail. I know I'm going to have a big burn pile. I have a big burn pile ready to go. I figured just put them there so when I get ready to burn everything, all that will be cleared out.
What about what he said about building products?
Building products, everything out there is rock, concrete, or block, used solely for fill material around the natural little spring that comes in. I'm wanting to build up that area just so it can concentrate the water a little bit more.
Well, let me ask this question. If this was approved with something tagged onto it that the codes department will have to go out there and make sure that what you're saying is fact or what he's saying is fact to determine, so we as a board will have a safety net here. Are you willing to do something like that? Okay.
Fill material. It's no insulation. There's no drywall. There's no roofing material.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
And I bring that up, but reason why is a safety net for the county and for whoever. I'm not saying that you're saying this. How do I say this right? I'm not saying you're lying. I'm not saying he's lying. I want to find out what the truth is, and then make our determination and go from there.
I was looking at the property. I pulled off the side of the road to look at the property and all that. At that time is when I got text messages about an hour later threatening to call the police because I am parked on his land, that I'm never to do that again, making threats. That's before I even bought the property. So I assumed that he would be here today doing this. So I have text message records of that happening and the picture of my truck and all that type of stuff. So,
Thank you.
all right.
Can I just add, from the building codes perspective, a building permit will be required for this building, and we will go out and take a look at it. So you're not permitted to bring debris and brush and stuff from other properties and burn it on your property. You can if the brush and debris came from that piece of property, but you can't bring it from another location and burn it there. So we will make several trips, doing the inspections on this property. So we'll take a look at it. And also, I might add that any personal items need to be stored inside the building with the doors closed and locked. So you can't store any vehicles or anything out there outside of the building if there's no primary residence.
I think that settles it. We're probably looking at two different things. One, the building, and the other one is the use of property. So it's her job to take care of the use of property. Okay, is there anyone else? We'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request with the stipulation that building codes goes out and makes sure that what has been stated here today is either see if it's factual or not.
Have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Sorry. Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes. It is approved with the requirements as stated. The next item is a request by Ryan Locke, who is requesting a special exemption for establishing a home-based business. And this is a fencing business. What do you have on that, please?
Thank you. Application 2024-002 involves the property at 3106 Rocky Glade Road. It's a request for special exception approval allowing the establishment of a major home-based business involving fencing contractor services upon a property located in the RL zone. And the site is a 25.33 acre parcel. The applicant would like to establish his home-based business upon the property once he starts occupying the property. He is in the process of building the principal residence, an accessory dwelling unit that will be located within a detached accessory structure that will be used for the business, and an agricultural structure. But if the business is approved, it would be used for the structure measuring 8,400 square feet will be used for the storage of equipment, materials, and vehicles. All the services that will be performed by the business will be conducted off-site, and the applicant is proposing to have 8 non-resident persons employed, and that will report to the site to obtain their trucks and materials. The applicant plans to store 4 company vehicles, 3 excavators, 1 tractor, and 4 trailers. They are proposing to establish a sign. However, any signage that's allowed through a major home-based business is limited to 5 square feet. Employees will pick up and drop off vehicles and equipment at the site between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And the applicant indicated in their application materials that all vehicles associated with the business will be parked within the detached accessory structure. So the applicant had come in and obtained the permits for the principal residence and the detached structure, which he would be permitted a structure of that size for his property. They are going to include an accessory dwelling unit and live in that structure while their home is being constructed. He is aware that the business cannot be established until they live on site. I passed out a couple letters for character references that were sent, and both on the front and the back of those pages, and they were sent in support of the applicant and testified to what kind of neighbor he is. There is an error at the end of the report where in the staff findings it says tree services. That is a cut and paste error. It is just fencing contracting, and we are recommending the condition that the home-based business continually comply with all applicable provisions for major home-based businesses, and allowing the applicant the storage of 4 business vehicles and also 8 employees. So that's not listed. This is the site in question, and the applicant, like I said, has obtained the permits, and so they were issued addresses. So this would be the primary structure, and this is the detached accessory structure. And these are photos of the site and surrounding area. And the applicant included a site plan showing the location of the house, their soil site, an ag structure that will be 40 by 60 that will be used for ag purposes, and the shop here that will be house the accessory dwelling unit and storage for the proposed business. And that concludes our presentation.
Have any question of the staff? Do we have anyone here representing this request? If you'll come around, please. Give us your name, address, and any additional information.
My name is Ryan Locke. We're from Franklin right now, live on Wilson Pike, 2044 Wilson Pike. And me and my wife recently closed on the property in early January. We plan on moving from Wilson Pike, where we've been since we got married in 2010, and I've been running my business out of that place since 2007. Like she stated, the accessory dwelling that we're going to be building, there's going to be a shed on the back of that, a 20 by 120. Any material that I have is going to be stored under that shed, and then the actual shop itself is where I'm going to park all the vehicles. Rocky Glade roadside, I mean, the final plan, the way the house and everything is laid out, there'll be very limited visibility of anything from the road. It's, pretty far off the road anyway, probably 1,300 feet. That's about it.
Terry, go ahead.
Every time when we have a major home business and you have neighbors around you, so how are you going to park 8 cars inside during the day?
I'm not going to park 8 cars inside during the day.
The whole thing about the home-based business is it's not really supposed to, no one's supposed to know what's going on.
That's kind of what I was getting at. That's a very large building, 120 foot long.
Huh?
All activity, all parking, everything goes on behind that building. That building is, roughly 1,300 feet off the road.
Can your neighbors see it?
The only neighbor that most likely can see is one directly behind me, and it's a pretty dense wood line between me and him. He's here today to speak, so, we can ask him. I don't know what he can see, honestly.
No, what we're trying to say is.
But no, sir, honestly.
It is a home-based business, so it still needs to look like a home. You don't need to have all your graders and your dump trucks and everything, that there's obviously a business there. So I was really asking how you were going to deal with that.
Like I said, the equipment and the company vehicles and everything, when they're on site, they will be parked inside that building. You mentioned something about the employees' vehicles. They will not be parked. They'll be parked behind the building. So on a daily basis, there's, 6, 7, of my employees' vehicles there. They're going to be parked behind the shop. I don't have a answer for that other than, there will be some landscaping and stuff like that done. But once again, neighbors left to right and from Rocky Glade Road, I don't think they would ever notice those vehicles, honestly. Like I said, the person that would see them would be the man that lives directly behind me. Like I said, I don't know what he can and can't see from his property because I've never been to his place. But yes, sir, like I said, everything.
Speak into the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Once again, everything that I'm planning on doing, it's kind of a fine line there between, I'm building an ag building as well. A lot of the stuff I have is, very similar to what I would have for the agriculture side of things anyway, so I'm not going to say you're not going to drive down Rocky Glade Road and see a tractor sitting there, so things like that. But I don't have dump trucks and everything are pickup trucks. They're going to be parked inside that shop, so.
So you're already almost, I would say you're at the top of when you have 8 employees and things of that nature, you're at the top of what we would even think about as a home-based business. How much do you plan on growing, and you're going to outgrow your place?
Honestly, if anything, I don't see me ever having more than 8 employees. I've got 2 crews, 2 service trucks now. That's doubled headaches of what we had 2 years ago, and I'm not looking for any more. We're in a good spot right now, and I don't foresee growing the business, honestly.
Thank you.
And if I did, I would understand that, if I grow to that level, then I need to be really looking for a commercial place.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Run through this. You're a fencing contractor is what you do. So most of this is called into your home. You have an office there, is that right?
I have an office, but the office is basically just for my, bookkeeping and stuff like that. I don't have customers come to my place.
No, they don't come, but they call?
Yes.
Okay. And then you go out and give a estimate of the fencing. Now, you obviously don't keep all kinds of fencing there, so you have to get it from somewhere. Is that brought in, or how do you do that?
It is, the only material, you speaking here?
No, you're fine.
Okay. The only material that I really stock a lot of, we do 90% of our business is agricultural fencing. We build a lot of this four-plank fence, black four-plank you see. That's really the only material I keep a lot of. I order tractor trailer trucks loads of it. They deliver probably twice a month of posts and boards. Those are going to be stored in that part of that 20 by 120 shed on the back side. You know, past that, you know, we have miscellaneous rolls of wire left over from this job to that job, you know, that we save to reuse on the next one and stuff like that. But as far as, you know, chain link and stuff like that, one, we don't do very much of it, and I sure don't do enough of it to store material.
All right, and your employees, they come in there in the mornings, and then you give them their assignments, and you have 8 employees.
Yes, sir.
But you don't have 8 automobiles coming in there.
Right now, and there again, that's subject to change, of course. I would say with 8 employees, there's a possibility of 8 vehicles. But right now, those 8 employees are coming in 6. You know, a couple of them ride together.
Any other questions?
On what Jerry was talking about. So what you're saying is all your business equipment is going to be inside of this structure. The only vehicles that are going to be out are employee vehicles that are coming in and parking their cars and then leaving in a business vehicle. And you're saying all these vehicles will be behind this structure where they're not going to be seen from the road or neighbors.
Now, the only thing that from the business side is going to be parked outside are my trailers. You know, we've got 4 trailers, 4 trucks. Some days we use trailers, some days we don't. You know.
Well, I think you were doing good until you said that. So that's I think that's what he was talking about, and that's what I'm going to be saying the same thing. That's kind of what we're getting at. But you can't really, this type of major home-based business, you go down the road and you can't tell it's a business. It's the way we got our zoning ordinances set up.
Well, I mean, the plan is, you know, a lot of times they will be hooked to that truck in that shop. That's why it's 50 foot wide, designed to pull in that way. And that's why I say it's kind of a, you know, it's the mixed bag, so to speak. Like I said, we do a lot of agriculture as well. You know, we cut hay. I've got flatbed trailers where we cut hay. You know, I use them for a business and I also use them to haul hay. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you know, a cattle trailer, for instance. I've got a cattle trailer. It's not part of the business. It's not part of these 4. You're going to see it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I can address that. I mean, I can figure out a way to address that. May have to just make the shed a little bigger or something like that. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But, you know.
Help me get past
I understand
that. Because I'm all about doing things, and I think we are all up here about treating people the same and being fair to everybody. We have turned people down for that same thing we're talking about. And for me to I'll just speak for me personally, for me to get past it, you're going to have to show me that people can go down through there and not tell it's a business to match our zoning ordinance. And you seem like a very nice guy, a hard-working guy that's built your business, and I'm proud you've done that. This is America, and it's good. But I just want to be fair to the people before you that's went through the same thing and been turned down.
Once again, I mean, speaking of the trailers, which I think is the only thing in question right now, I mean, I can easily shield them with, you know, evergreen trees easily. I plan on a lot of landscaping. I don't know exactly yet. I mean, there's literally 3 trees on this property right now. You know what I mean? So it's a blank slate. And I plan on doing heavy landscaping, of course, around the house, shop, and everything. I haven't really thought about when and where. But like I said, that's something I can easily address to get it not visible from Rocky Glade. Once again, as of right now, driving down the road, once the shop is built and the trailers are parked, you would never see them from Rocky Glade Road right now without landscaping. I mean, it's a straightaway, you know, but like I said, I mean, I can definitely address that.
Any other questions?
Hey, Danielle, do you have a street view of the property?
Previous.
The way I'm looking at it, your house is the first thing that we see from Rocky Glade. So everything else is going to be all the way behind that. So you'll build the shop, so your equipment will be in the shop, all about the employees in the back, trailers, ag, whatever, they're going to be lined up real nice.
Right.
Yeah. And this is from the road. This is what I wanted to see.
That is from the road. And, you know, going down those, where the cedar trees are there, the property makes the driveway. We've already started to drive. It makes a dog leg right there and follows the property line, as you can see on the plat that y'all were given.
To the left.
Wire fence on the left where that cedar tree is, that's the left property line as of right now. It's about 160 feet across the road frontage. And that line goes way back. Like I said, if you've got the plat there, you can kind of see it. It's real narrow road frontage and it opens up real wide in the back. But yes, ma'am, and that's why I've got it laid out like I do. The way the house and the barn and the shop, the house is actually, you know, the barn and the shop and the barn, the ag barn, they're lined up, and the house is almost in the middle. You know what I mean? So it kind of, between those three buildings, you know, you don't see really anything behind it.
And the house itself is buffered too, so.
I'm sorry?
The house is buffering the view too, once it's being
Absolutely.
built, right? And you said it is being built right now, you said?
We are still building the road right now.
Oh,
Like I said,
okay.
we just closed, I've obtained all the permits for the house, the shop, the barn, everything.
Okay.
We haven't got past the road yet. This rain's got us held up a little bit over the last few weeks, rain and snow.
But this is going to be your principal residence?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. We're selling on Wilson Pike as soon as we get the shop built with the accessory dwelling in it. We're selling the property on Wilson Pike, and then we will further on progress on the shop. Hopefully, we're going to get to start the foundation before, but we can't go much farther until we
Yeah.
get a hold to a little bit more money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. You may be seated. We'll open this for a public hearing for anyone who'd like to speak on this. If you'll come forward at this time to the podium, give us your name and share information.
I'm at 2775 Taylor Lane. We were talking a little bit about the back of the property. I am the back of the property. I'm to the back of the property. I'm to the south. That picture's looking north. I'm just there at that red line. Yes, right there. Mr. Locke's right to buy a house, buy a property, and do what he wants with it. Like you said, that's on that. If this was I think if this was an accounting office he was running, and I'd be none the wiser. With the structures that we're talking about, I think I would ask the committee to, if there's a way to give him what he wants while still protecting my rights to an open appearance of that I guess that's the low density district, then I'm okay with it. Some of the questions that I had, that I hope that the committee will consider, was basically, like I said, can you give him an exemption and protect my rights in the future? With the size, the scope, gets a contract to be the fence contractor for the state of Tennessee. Do we change business models? Can we walk that back once we've given that opportunity to run the business? Is there a way to walk that back? Is there a way to manage that to where there's not bales of chain link fencing stacked up? There's not a lot of product that we have to look at to where we still get I'm a half a mile off the road. I'd like to preserve my view. That was one of the things. The size of the accessory dwelling unit was, and how will that go to 2 stories or will that go to 1 story? That was a question. I think we got the dimensions, but I don't think we got the actual elevation of that. Had a question about that. The accessory dwelling unit, I think we're building the shop first. Is that right? Going to build the shop first, live there, then build the house. After that, is that accessory dwelling unit, is that a rental property? Is that a crew living there? Is it just an apartment, so to speak? I have an accessory dwelling on my place, and I think I was limited to 700 square foot at the time that I built it. I don't know if that's changed or not, but I guess that's neither here nor there, but the size of that matters, I would say. Material storage, is that indoors or outdoors? On the back of on the back of the plan, it looks like there's a shed towards the back, and I'm guessing that's the back where we would be parking vehicles at. Is that closed in? Is that going to be closed in? Is that going to be shielded by, you're talking about some landscaping? Is that something, to where I'm not looking at the back of the property with the trailer load of material and those things? That's a consideration. The vehicles and trailers, the parking and where employees park beyond that, when they're picking up their work vehicles and running, running their crew and doing the things during the day. Vehicle parking was a thing. I think we're displacing, I think it's 2.5 acres, 2.25 acre of aggregate that it was proposed. So is that all parking? I had a question, and this is just ignorance to it. Does the exemption follow the parcel, or does it follow the owner? And I didn't know the answer to that, because once you have the exemption, if you sold to somebody else, would they retain the exemption? Okay, 10-4. The hours of operation, I think you spoke to that a little bit, 7 to 5. Obviously,
You need to finish up.
Okay, yes, sir. Then that's water displacement, and yeah, that would be the only thing. It's pretty flat out there, but my time's over, and thank y'all for the
I have a
consideration.
question for you.
You have a question for me?
So the applicant told us to the rear of where he would park that it was thick vegetation and nobody could really see it. So is that not the truth?
No, sir. That's not, my driveway runs right down through there. That's not entirely true. About 8 months out of the year, privet is pretty, the bush it covers it pretty well. And then you have 4 months, we can see I think they're moving some dirt right now and dropped off some aggregate. And so, yeah, no, you can see the property.
Okay, that's why I had a question with the picture. There's not 10 acres of woods there. It's just a tree line.
Oh, it's just tree line. It's a fence line and a single tree line. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
I failed to advise you. About 3 or 4 minutes is what we need on this. Anyone else? Next. Give us your name.
My name's Corey Cruz. I live to the east of Clayton that just spoke. So basically, we're the driveway that's running right next to his. So we do have eyesight to his building location. So it's not out of sight. Now, obviously, when we have more foliage, you can't see as well. And I just really have kind of 2 concerns, 3. One is the noise, obviously the coming and the going and tractor trailers and all that. I want to be able to sit on my back porch and, not have a business going, And so that's one concern right there. The other concern, one I just want to kind of put on the record is obviously drainage. And I know this probably be, code, probably have to look at some of that, but that water has to run through there, probably behind the building. I'm not sure what the plans are as far as that. But I just want to put that out as a concern as you do build, that you don't back it up on my property, because it's, it's pretty flat property, so it can definitely push it back on us. So obviously those are my 2 main concerns, and then just the overall, what this is going to look like. obviously don't want to feel like I've got this big, huge business right next to me with the big, huge, building stuff going everywhere, where it just kind of changes the landscape that we have out there. It's low density, it really is, and that whole street that we live on, Taylor Lane, out big buildings, I think 100-foot by 50 building's a pretty good size. I think I have a 40 by 60. I feel like that's a really big building. 100 by 50 is a really large. Those are my concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Give us your name, please.
I'm Ronnie Gannon, 3232 Rocky Glade Road. I'm the gentleman that sold Mr. Locke this property, and some clarifications that was left out in the drainage of the land and all. If she could, to the right of the house is a fence row, which is my property. It's a fence line with cedar trees. Going up to your left. Down toward his house.
Sorry. Toward whose house?
Toward his house.
Oh, okay, down here?
No, to the left. Keep going. To Ryan's proposed house.
Oh, okay, right there. Okay. And there's the trees.
Right above that is the drainage of the land comes through my property. You can kind of see a little horseshoe shape. That's the drainage, natural drainage of the land, and goes across Mr. Locke's property at that point. Above that is a rise in the land that's about 4 foot high. From Rocky Glade Road with a 2-foot high trailer, I can promise you that trailer is not going to be seen, even if it's sitting out in the open, because that rise is going to cover your eyesight. Unless you're in a trailer truck or something that's high, but in a normal car, normal SUV, you will not see those because of the rise that's in front of his house, because he picked that location so that he would not be in the way of the spill area of the water. In reference to the previous gentleman, the water that flows on the back of the property would not get within 100 feet of his proposed building. And I've been living there 40 years and seen all kinds of floods and flash floods go through it. And I have a aerial view of the property a day after the big water thing came through at Opryland 10 years ago, 12 years ago. This shows where the water actually got. Neither one of his buildings will be in the water zone of that. So just wanted to clarify some things there. I've lived there now for 40 years, know where the water goes, know where the land is, and Ryan's a good guy and he'll be a great neighbor, and I don't think you'll see anything from the road that would ever imagine being a business.
Thank you. Next.
Jim Vaughn, 2397 Rocky Glade. Our place is like 2 fields to the west from there, so I'm not as close as anybody else that's spoken. Ryan has worked for us in the past on our farm, though, and I think he kept the job site neat. He did a good job. His equipment's in good shape, and he'd be an asset to our community.
Thank you. Next.
I'm Luke Reynolds, 3181 Rocky Glade Road. I live directly on the street looking out at the field where Mr. Locke would like to build his property. It's about 350 yards off of the road. I could see him doing things back there, but other than that, it's back there. With shrubbery, landscaping, I don't think anybody would ever be able to tell anything. My only question is there any kind of limitations on how big of a building you can make for commercial? You know, 50 by 100 is not too bad, far enough off the road. Farm use, not bad at all. I just didn't know where does the limitation set, say, where it goes to big commercial on a rural road. I'm not against it, I just, if there's any kind of actual number. That's all I got.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Mary Shea Keeler. I'm also at 3181 Rocky Glade with Luke. And I think I had some of the similar concerns. I'm not against it. I just want to make sure some of the concerns about potential growth in the future, you know, we're sort of at a home capacity of we don't want to see it, we don't want to hear it. Monday through Friday, you know, our kids are out on the road on their bikes. I don't want lots of big trucks going in and out. If it's during the school hours, obviously we wouldn't have a lot of that. We're a little bit, we have some blind corners around there, and I just don't want giant trucks going in and out, and it sounds like there wouldn't be a lot of that. I just don't want a lot of growth from businesses. You know, what you're proposing sounds fine from my point of view, where we see the front of the warehouse. We just don't want to see lots of equipment. We ideally wouldn't want a 5-foot sign that we look out at, and I'd just be concerned about growth for the business itself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. Anyone else? All right, I'll close the public hearing. We have those who have spoken for and against this, and they all live in the same community.
Mr. Chairman, I have a
But the thing
question.
we need to remember is this appropriate use for this property? Is it an appropriate use, this building? And what I'm hearing you all say is that you want this put under roof and nothing outside. And we will check this if it is approved to make sure that it is followed the appropriate standards that we set for it. And we've got a pretty good enforcer over here. She don't want to put you on the fence. But did you have anything to say about this?
I'm going to ask Danielle, you know, in her report, it talks about it doesn't meet all of the qualifications. And I was trying to read, and maybe more than what she has written. Was it just the number of vehicles?
Right. I mean, the major home-based business establishes a maximum, and so anyone who wants to waiver from that, and the board has the power to adjust the number. We're just looking at that standard, and we're saying, well, it doesn't meet that standard, but he wants a waiver, and that was from the number of vehicles and the number of employees.
Well, there is one on the first page that says no home-based business shall be permitted that changes the outside appearance or character of the dwelling unit. So I was wondering, was that not concerning at all?
Anyone with a 25-acre parcel can build a detached accessory structure that measures the size that he's building, and he's also building an ag structure. So if everything is being stored inside, it would probably be no different than someone's detached shop for their hobbies. So.
I've been back and forth on this thing here since we've been talking. The applicant said that he would be willing to a buffer somewhere that the vehicles wouldn't be shown, the product would not be shown, and things like that. Help me here, Danielle. If we were to approve this with some of those stipulations that he has said, that I'm assuming he's in agreement that he would make those things happen if it was approved. If that came up and when the motion was made tonight to do that, what would we have to do to put that into the report?
Just include a condition, whether it's vegetation screening or opaque fencing. We've done it in the past for different cases. I mean, every case is different, but you guys have included a condition requiring the area for which the product or materials or equipment being used for the business is shielded from the neighbors with a privacy fence. And it was
One thing you can do is require a buffer to the back,
Right.
vegetation buffer. We've got Mike over
Go ahead.
I got a question about the square footage, total square footage of structures on this property is approaching, well above 13,000, just under 14,000 square feet. Is that going to affect any potential stormwater runoff for this property, or is the rest of the property sufficient to not be putting the water on someone else?
So when the applicant came in with the parcel being that size, it's automatically kicked over to our engineers to review. And so when he applied for everything, all of the proposed structures were being shown. And so if the engineers had any concern about stormwater or drainage, they would have required the applicant to make some site changes to adjust any concerns. So he would have not made it as far as a building permit if there were some major drainage issues with the.
Okay, thank you. That just reassures me.
Patrick?
Well, I was just thinking about, I'm fine with it with the screening, not just along the backside of 2775, but also along the side of Rocky Glade Road. Because while their house is facing that way, they have a perfect line of sight on the east side of the piece of property. But if there could be some sort of a screening right there, I think, and like we were saying, to be able to put it under a roof, I think that would be, that would serve the purpose here for us to be able to move forward with it and be able to protect everybody and keep everybody in their good graces.
I think if we, the thing that bothers me a little about this is the number of employees. It sounds like a big business for fencing that you're going to have 8 employees. I don't know if that's really going to hold up or not. But if you do have that many, that's a lot of activity out there, and I think you need to be mindful of that. And your neighbors are concerned about that, and I think all of us would be. So you can mitigate that. And also, if you have green buffer around it, I think that would help to solve some of the problems. It not looking like a business, but more like a home business. So, but outside of those two things, I think that it's something that, guys got to have a living somehow, and he's also a farmer. He's going to have an agricultural part of it. So those are some of the things that we need to keep in mind.
I have just, for clarification, I think it was brought up twice, I think, here. If it is approved, explain to all of us in the audience, if this is approved, does it follow the deed or does it follow the owner? Just for everyone's knowledge. Yeah.
Let me answer that a little bit. That is somewhat controversial. I've always felt like that it follows just that person who is requesting it. But also, some of our attorneys says that anything that we approve is it's for a lifetime of that, unless we withdraw it. So we've got two different opinions. None of it has gone to court. So your thinking on it is as good as anybody until.
Do we need an opinion on that?
Yeah.
Would the attorney like to state an opinion on that?
Sorry about that. His position there is correct. There hasn't been a formal opinion on that issue yet, and until then, it is one of those questions still.
In times past, we've had an attorneys up here that says, well, it doesn't follow the property. But then again, it hasn't been litigated, so we don't know for sure.
Wasn't that more on the conditional use permits before instead of the way we're doing it now?
Right. It kind of changed in 2013, where we actually had zoning districts with permitted uses. And so the type 3 that you found a lot of the conditions with, the type 3 conditional use permit went away. But I will say that if you include conditions and it limits this business to exactly what the applicant proposes, if he sells the property and someone wants to establish a fencing contracting company, they would be subject to all of those conditions. If there's any change in the type of business or any of the intensity, like then all of that's gone when he comes back before the board. So
I just don't want to approve something in this great neighborhood and then somebody see they can triple their money and it be a car lot with used cars and things parked up there with things and tow trucks and, you know, we've got enough of that for right now.
They can't do that. But
We were just clarifying. Thank you.
also include in your motion, if you choose to do that if this property is sold, that it would come back to the board if any other business was in there.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Mr. Chairman, if there's no other discussion, I'll make the motion that we approve the request, and with the stipulations that these items are added, that once the property is sold, it comes back to the county to make a determination on what the next use is for the property. Also, that the property owner or the applicant buffers the entire area, that if there's anything that's going to be shown, whether it be product, employee cars, or business vehicles, anything that's going to be showing that there's a business there, that he needs to buffer it, whether it be on the rear, the sides, or whatever. So that's my motion.
We have a second.
I will second that.
Got a second. Call a roll, please.
I forgot it's me. Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis,
Yes.
Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes, it is approved with those stipulations. Renee, we held off election of officers, so you would be here. I will take first the nomination for a chair.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that I nominate you as our next chairman.
All right, Zane Cantrell is nominated for
Second.
chair. We have a second. Does anybody else want this?
I'll make a motion that nomination cease and we elect you by acclamation.
Second
Call
that.
roll on that, please.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
Yes.
and Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
I don't know if you vote for that.
All right, we have a nomination for vice chair. Anybody?
I nominate Jerry.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Jerry Sartain, we have a second.
Make a motion we elect him by acclamation.
Call a roll, please.
Who seconded the motion? Was it
Us.
you? Okay.
All right.
Mike Curtis,
Yes.
Amber Brown,
Yes.
Jerry Sartain,
Yes.
Gary Farley,
Yes.
Renee Curtis, Patrick Hale,
Yes.
Zane Cantrell.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much for the confidence that you've shown on us. And Jerry, if I'm ever absent, you're up here, buddy, whether you like it or not. So, and for those of you who are here, let me thank you for being here. We may not have pleased everybody, but we do the best we can. Thank you for being here, and we are adjourned.